Hey there, YouTube friends. Welcome back to my channel. Now, today I'm going to do something a little bit different. So, just a little bit of background. Every Halloween season, I take the entire month of October to kind of spook the living daylights out of myself. Now, I'm not a big fan of being scared. I don't like jump scares. I don't like spiders or creepy dolls or things like that. So, this goes totally against my entire nature. But it is October and it's a spooky season, and I feel like I gotta get, into the spirit of it. So, I start on the 1st of October and go to the very last day with an entire month-long marathon of movies. Now, there are always a few that get put in the mix because I love them, because they're just kind of awesome and they fit the season very well. And then there are kind of the ones that I take trial and error just to see maybe what's new that season, what might be good to add to the mix, or just to see what it is, So what I'm going to do today is I am going to give you guys a bit of a lowdown on the movies that I've seen so far that are a little bit different. I mean, they're not my usual ones that are going to go into the mix, but they were kind of here for this year, and I figured I might as well give them a watch and see what they were about. So I watched these so that you guys could decide whether or not you want to watch them. If you already have watched them, please make sure that in the comments after the video, you go ahead and let me know what you thought of the movies, because your opinions might be a lot different than mine. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of briefly give you guys that information here. So let's do this. Alright, so most of us know that there was an old black and white cartoon called The Munsters. Now, I was a little bit, I wasn't around to be able to watch it when it was actually going on, but I did catch it as a kid periodically, because it came on in the dead of night when, you had nothing really else to watch. And it was a pretty cool little show. Now, Rob Zombie apparently decided to remake it into a movie, and I thought, what the heck, I'm going to give it a shot to see maybe it's just as good as the original one. If I were rating this a 1 out of 10, saying 1 being the worst and 10 being the best, this would be a total 1. I hated every aspect of this movie. It was corny, it didn't represent anything. And I get that, the entire thing here was to probably make fun of the movie a little bit, or sorry, the original show. But this one, I'm like, I started it and I fell asleep. I couldn't make it through the movie entirely because it was just that bad. And I thought they were at least going to do the show some justice. They didn't do that at all. I mean, there were a few, moments where they had a few good jokes. It kind of gave you an idea of just, what kind of vibe they were going for. I hated it. If there were one movie this season that I could say just to go ahead and skip, this one would be it. And then you'd figure Rob Zombie, it'd be something where you couldn't, let the kids watch it because it might be a little gory or scary. Not at all. If anything, if you wanted to, put this on for the kids and walk away, this would be that movie. Alright, so the next one here. Okay, so The Boy. Now, I know this came out a few years ago. I actually hadn't seen it until this year because there are a bunch of different movies that come out during the year, and I mean, I can't get them all because there's just not enough time between, work and everything else that you're doing, so I pick and choose. Now, I decided this time I was going to give this one a shot because it was there last year, and I know it was there the year before because I think it came out 2016, and I was pleasantly surprised. Now, if I'm giving it a rating from 1 to 10, I'm going to say this one's roughly about, I'm going to say about a 7. Now, it's not entirely scary, so it wasn't like the scariest thing I've ever seen, but it had a really good storyline. Now, I don't want to get into it because I don't want to spoil the movies for anybody in case you haven't seen them, but it's definitely worth a watch. And it had some really good, points to it. The plot of the movie was actually really interesting. I thought it was going to go a whole different way, and it was pleasantly surprising to see how this one actually turned out. So if you're looking for kind of a good movie to just kind of make you think a little bit, I would say give this one a shot. It was worth it. I don't think, it's not the highest on the scary rating because, I mean, I didn't really think of it that way. So if you're watching it with, teenagers, it would work out just fine. I don't see any problem there. But it's definitely worth a watch. Okay, here. So, Brahms The Boy 2 is the sequel to The Boy. So, I mean, that kind of gave it away there. So, this is a sequel. I figured I was going to give it a shot because I'd already watched The Boy. And, I mean, if you see that there's a sequel, you kind of want to see whether or not they did better or worse with it. And I'm kind of thinking that this one was... I didn't like it as much as I did the first one. The plot in this one is a little bit different. And it actually does kind of make sense as to what's going on with the first one. So it does connect, and you do kind of see exactly where they went with it. And it does kind of give you a little bit of a, a summary as to what happened at the end of the last movie. So if you want a movie that's going to connect to the original one, they did that well here, because it does tell you what happened. But the storyline and the way that they ran it wasn't as clever as the first one. So I mean, my rating scale for this one would be roughly about a 5. Scariness, not a lot. I mean, they tried to. They really did try, and they had a few good moments in there where it was kind of surprising, but not inherently scary. So if you're looking for something that's like super scary, this is not the movie. I mean, this is not the series to begin with, but was it a good story to begin? I mean, just, in general, yes. Both movies kind of created a really good story, so as you're watching it, you're intrigued, and you kind of want to see where it goes. So it did keep my attention. I watched the entire thing. I didn't have any problems with how it ended, because it made sense. And I mean, this one, it has a lot of a difference compared to the first one. You figure that they're going to be almost identical because, certain things that happened, but this one was actually quite the opposite, which was kind of cool, because I didn't expect it, but it wasn't, I guess, fully Halloween-centric for me. So if I'm going to watch this movie again, this series again, I'm probably going to watch it at the very beginning of my season, because normally the way I watch movies is I'll start with the corny ones and, just the kind of non-scary ones at the very beginning of the season. And then by the end of the season, I'm watching the ones where I kind of have to hide under a blanket because they're freaking me out. So this one is going to be at the very beginning of my movie session. Now, will I watch it every year? I don't think so. It didn't hit me that hard to where I have to watch it, so it's okay, but it wasn't like the best. Now, I don't want to give any plot holes, because I don't know who's seen it, who hasn't. So I would say if you're going to give, this movie a shot, make sure you watch the first one. It's one of those where you kind of have to see the first one to kind of really get what I'm talking about here. Okay. All right, so I didn't have anything to watch because I had forgotten to plan my night, and I figured I was going to look for something random that was just going to be kind of interesting, that I could kind of do some work in between while I kept my, horror movie thing going. And I came upon this one on Hulu, Amish Witches, The True Story of Holmes County. Now, just by the picture alone, you can kind of tell, I mean, it's a little bit low budget, and I mean, some low budget movies are awesome. This one, though, I would not watch it again. I wouldn't, and and it doesn't have anything to do with the actual plot of the movie. The format that they used the plot in was awesome. I mean, it would have made a great movie if it had had just a little bit more of a budget, and maybe if the actors had been kind of selected a little bit, more strategically here. The storyline, it's an interesting story. You can tell, that they had an actual format that they were going to follow, and if done right, it could have been a very, very spooky movie. But they kind of did it in the same way that they did the Blair Witch Project. Sorry, I said that backwards. The Blair Witch Project. So it's kind of, getting the point of view of other people, and they kind of try to mesh it together here with that format, and it just didn't work. I found myself laughing throughout most of the movie just because there are so many inaccuracies here. And, I mean, the first thing you see is Amish witches. And you expect a certain level of, accountability for how they manage the characters. And they kind of messed up quite a lot. I mean, some things that are just common knowledge about the Amish, they kind of messed up here. And I found myself just kind of looking at the screen, and I'm like, okay, well, this doesn't make sense based on the current knowledge that I have on the Amish, people. And I don't know how much knowledge you guys have, but they're very, strict kind of people. They don't do the whole boy-girl mixing thing early on, and they're very, very kept to themselves. And I think that's what I struggled most with this movie, is that there were just so many inaccuracies that it was hard to kind of get into the movie. And I think if they had fixed that and, taken care of the movie budget and dealt with the actors a little better, this could have been a very good Halloween movie. It could have been. But it was a very big letdown for me. And I can promise you, I won't be watching this one again. Now, I do periodically watch the Blair Witch Project because that one's just, it's awesome. This one is not of that caliber, and I don't think that they really checked with what they were making here. It had potential, but it totally let me down. So yeah, if you're gonna watch this one, kind of watch it with just knowledge that it's not really gonna stay true to what it's actually doing. So just, I mean, if you want to give it a shot, go ahead and do it. But I wouldn't do it again. It's something that I just could not get myself to watch again. All right, so this last one here, I know it's kind of hard to see on the screen there, but Prime had a new movie this season, My Best Friend's Exorcism. It sounds entirely corny, which is why I watched it at the very beginning of my season. And I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised with this one. Now, scary rating, not so much. This is going to be like maybe on the lower level because it's not really scary. It's more of a thriller kind of a thing. And honestly, I mostly just enjoyed the vibe of the entire movie because it's got a really nice 80s vibe. Now, I wasn't around during the 80s, so it's kind of one of those things where I kind of wish that I had been there because the 80s had a bunch of really cool things. I mean, everything from the music to the clothes was just really cool. And this movie captured all of that. So if you're really looking for a movie that's going to give you, that 80s vibe, that's just going to kind of make you just enjoy the time watching a movie, this is that movie. Now, like I said, the storyline, it's fun. It's an interesting way to really look at what's going on. And I laughed quite a bit because there are just a lot of scenes that are crazy. And it was actually quite thrilling, though, because there were some things that I didn't expect to happen. I didn't really know exactly what was going on because I wasn't around the 80s, so it was kind of like a shock to me in that aspect. But it turned out pretty cool. They did the actual, storyline very well, so there was a few little twists and turns in there that I didn't expect. And I would actually really watch this one all over again just because it was fun to watch. So if you're looking for a movie that's kind of, 80s centric, that's got a little bit of corny humor to it, but at the same time, stays true to the horror situation that October is, I would say give this one a shot. Honestly, my rating for this one is an 8, just because it's not like super scary, but 8 because the storyline was awesome, the music was awesome, and it just had that really cool vibe to it. So if you need something, just to kind of pass the time, and you want something that's actually good, this is the movie to check out. I was thoroughly excited for this one, and I think I'm actually going to try to watch this again next year just because it was quite funny. Alright guys, so that's all the movies that I got for you right now. Now, I'm not going to go into every movie that I've seen this season because there are a lot of them. Especially on the weekends when I kind of double down on my horror movies just because there's not enough time in the week to do it. But for new movies this season for me, I would definitely say if you want a series that's kind of cool to follow, but you're not expecting too much horror, The Boys series is actually pretty cool. If you just want something that's nice 80s vibe, it's a very cool thriller kind of a thing, check out My Best Friend's Exorcism. That one was cool. The other ones in my list, though, like I said, I wouldn't really touch those at all from this point on, and I kind of regret seeing The Munsters because I feel like that one was just the worst thing I'd ever seen. But yeah, so I mean, you guys check it out though, and let me know what you think. If you have seen them, let me know in the comments. That way, I can see what your perspective on it was. If you haven't seen it and you do want to give it a shot and check it out, please do. And then the same thing, let me know what you guys thought. Maybe I'm looking at it a little bit too critically, but let me know because I want to know what you guys are thinking here. I mean, I know I don't think the same way everyone else does, so I'm pretty sure you guys have quite a few different views than I do, and I'd really like to know. All in all, guys, I enjoyed this. Hopefully you did too. If you did, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. Also, make sure to hit that little notification button. That way you guys know when I drop my next video. And if you get the chance, check out my Twitch stream on Wednesdays and Fridays. Just check my page for the times. Well, thanks for joining me here today, everybody. Stay spicy, my friends.